I'd be lying to you if I wouldn't tell you the truth. You know? I just call it how I see it. I need everybody together, you know what I'm saying? I got something to say. I came to spread the word.
QuitAndPlayBeats.com.
Alright, starting from chapter 13, and it reads, And Enoch went and said, Azazel, you shall have no peace. A severe sentence has been passed against you that you should be bound, and you shall not have rest or mercy, toleration nor request granted because of the unrighteousness which you have taught, and because of all the works of godliness, and unrighteousness and sin which you have sown to men. Then I went and spoke to them all together, and they were all afraid, and fear and trembling seized them. And they asked me to write a petition for them that they might find forgiveness, and to read their petition in the presence of the Father of heaven. They have been forbidden to speak with him, nor were they to lift up their eyes to heaven for shame of their sins, because they have been condemned. Then I wrote out their petition and a prayer in regard to their spirits and their deeds individually, and in regard to their request that they should obtain forgiveness and forbearance. And I went off and sat down at the waters of Dan, in the land of Dan, and the southwest of Hermon, and read their petition until I fell asleep. And I had a dream, and I saw a vision of their chastisement, and a voice came to me that I will reprimand, excuse the background noise, them. And when I awoke, I came to them, and they were all sitting gathered together, weeping in Abel's jail, which is between Lebanon and Sinister, with their faces covered. And I recounted to them all the visions which I have seen when I was asleep, and I began to speak the words of righteousness and the reprimand heavenly watchers. This is the book of the words of righteousness. I'm in chapter 14 at the moment. This is the book of the words of righteousness and the reprimand of the eternal watchers, in accordance with the command of the Holy Great One in that vision I saw in my sleep. What I will now say with the tongue of flesh and with the breath of my mouth, which the Great One has given to men to speak with it and to understand with the heart. And he created and given to man the power of understanding the word of wisdom, and he created me also and given me the power of reprimanding the watchers, the children of heaven. I wrote out your petition, and in my vision it appeared that your petition would not be granted to you throughout all the days of eternity, and that judgment has been finally passed on you. Your petition would not be granted, for here on you shall not ascend into heaven again for all eternity, and you will be bound on earth for all eternity. Before this you will see the destruction of your beloved sons, and you shall have no pleasure in them, but they shall fall before you by the sword. Your petition shall not be granted on their behalf or on yours, even though you weep and pray and speak all the words contained in the writings. In the vision I saw clouds that invited me and summoned me into a mist, and the course of the stars and the flashes of lightning, and hurried me and drove me. And the winds in the vision caused me to fly and lifted me up and bore me into heaven. And I went in until I drew near to a wall which was built of crystals and surrounded by tongues of fire, and it began to frighten me. I went into the tongues of fire and drew near a large house which was built of crystals, and the walls of the house were like a mosaic of hailstones, and the floor was made of crystals like snow. Its ceiling was like the path of the stars of lightning flashes, and between them were fiery cherubim. Their sky was clear as water. A flaming fire surrounded the walls, and its doors blazed with fire. I entered that house, and it was hot as fire and cold as ice. There were no pleasures or life therein. Fear covered me, and trembling got hold of me. As I shook and trembled, I fell on my face, and I saw a vision, and lo, there was a second house, greater than the first. And the doors stood open before me, and it was built of flames of fire. And in every respect it was splendid and magnificent to the extent that I cannot describe it to you. Its floors was of fire, and above it was lightning and a path of stars, and its ceiling also was flaming fire. And I looked and saw a throne set on high, and its appearance was like crystals, and its wheels was like a shining sun. There was the vision of the cherubim. And from underneath the throne came rivers of fire, so that I could not look at it. And he who is great and holy sat on the throne, and his remnant shone more brightly than the sun, and was whiter than any snow. You can refer that to Matthew 25:31. Verse 21. None of the angels could enter or could behold his face because of the magnificence and glory, and no flesh could behold him. The sea of fire surrounded him, and a great fire stood in front of him, and no one could draw close to him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him, but he needed no holy counsel. The most holy ones who were near him did not leave night or day, and until then I had been prostrated on my face, trembling. And the Father called me with his own mouth and said to me, "Come here, Enoch, and hear my word." And one of the holy ones came to pick me up and brought me to the door, and I bowed down my face. 15. And he answered and said to me, and I heard his voice, "Do not be afraid, Enoch. You righteous man and scribe of righteousness. Approach and hear my voice. Go and say to the watchers of heaven, for whom you have come to intercede. You shall intercede for men, and not men for you. Why? And for what cause have you left the high holy and eternal heaven, and had sex with women, defiled yourself with the daughters of men, and take to yourselves wives, and done like the children of earth, and begotten giants as your sons? Though you were holy, spiritual, living eternal life, you have defiled yourself with the blood of women, and have begotten the children with the blood of flesh. And as the children of men, you have lusted after flesh and blood, like those who die and are killed. This is why I have given men wives, that they might impregnate them and have children by them, that these might continue on the earth. But you were formerly spiritual, living in eternal life, and immortal for all generations of the world. Therefore I have not appointed wives for you. You are spiritual beings of heaven, and in heaven was your dwelling place. And now the giants who are produced from the spirits of flesh shall be called evil spirits on the earth, and shall live on the earth. Evil spirits have come out from them, because they are born from men, and from the holy watchers. Their beginning is of primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits shall they be called, spirits of the evil ones. As the spirits of heaven, and heaven shall be their dwelling. But as for the spirits of the earth, which were born on the earth shall be their dwelling. And the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, war, destroy, and cause trouble on the earth. They take no food, but do not hunger or thirst. They cause offenses, but are not observed. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them, in the days of the slaughter and destruction. Chapter 16. And at the death of the giants, spirits will go out and shall destroy without incurring judgment. Coming from their bodies, their flesh shall be destroyed until the day of the consummation, the great judgment in which the age shall be consumed over the watchers and the godless, and shall be wholly consummated. You can refer that to Matthew 8:28. And now, as to the watchers who have sent you to intercede for them who have been in heaven before, say to them, you were in heaven, but all the mysteries of heaven had not been revealed to you, and you knew worthless ones, and these in the hardness of your hearts you have made known to the women, and through these mysteries men work much evil on earth. Say to them, therefore, you have no peace. Chapter 17. And they took me to a place in which those who were there were like flaming fire. And when they wished, they made themselves appear as men. They brought me to the place of darkness and to a mountain that pointed of those of whose summit reached to heaven. And I saw the lighted places and the treasuries and the stars of the thunder, and in the uttermost depths were a fiery bow and arrows, and their quiver, and a fiery sword, and all the lightning. And they took me to the waters of life, and to the fire of the west, which receives every setting of the sun. And I came to a river of fire, in which the fire flows like water into the great sea towards the west. I saw the great rivers, and came to the great darkness, and went to the place where no flesh walks. And I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter, and place where all the waters of the deep flow. I saw the mouths of all the rivers on the earth, and mouth of the deep. Chapter 18. I saw the storehouse of all the winds. I saw how he had adorned the whole creation with them, and the firm foundation of the earth. And I saw the cornerstone of the earth, and I saw the four winds which support the earth, and the firmament of the heaven. I saw how the winds stretch out the height of the heaven, and have their station between heaven and earth. These are the pillars of heaven. I saw the winds of heaven, which turn and bring the sky and the sun and all the stars to their suffering, to their setting place. I saw the winds on the earth carrying the clouds. I saw the path of the angels. I saw the end of the earth, the firmament of heaven above. And I continued south and saw a place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones, 3 towards the east and 3 towards the south. And as for those towards the east, they were of colored stones, and one of pearl, and one of jacinth, a stone of healing, and those towards the south of red stone. But the middle one reached to heaven like the throne of God, and was made of alabaster, and the summit of the throne was of sapphire. And I saw a great abyss of the earth, with pillars of heavenly fire, and I saw among them fiery pillars of heaven which were fallen. And as regards both height and depth, they were immeasurable. And beyond the abyss I saw a place where had no firmament of the heaven above, and no firmly founded earth beneath. There was no water on it, and no birds, but it was the desert, and a horrible place. And I saw there 7 stars like great burning mountains. And an angel questioned me regarding them. The angel said, "This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison of the stars and the host of heaven. And the stars which rolled over the fire are they which have transgressed and commanded of the Father in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come out at their proper times. And he was angry with them, and bound them until the time when their guilt should be consummated, even for 10,000 years." Salah.